Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by for our chat this evening. My name is Clark Warner from Detroit, but coming at you from Los Angeles today, a hazy, smoky Los Angeles. But my friends on the other side, we have Sam Fotis, Paxow Director of Operations, Melinda Anderson from Studio M Detroit, experienced designer. We have Gabriel Hall from New D Media, live visuals, projection mapping specialist, and Rula David from One Time Run, and also the curator of Movement's Artist in Residence program. Why we're here today is obviously to have a design talk in support of Detroit Design Month and the 10th anniversary of that. So thank you for joining again and checking out our stream today here on Paxow. Just real quick, wanted to say welcome again and maybe show a visual of, just a visual of what it was like when we used to get together at a festival and go back in time for a moment. So let's do that for 1 minute.
Detroit is what I love. Detroit is what I need. Detroit is the place I'm from. Detroit's the air I breathe. Detroit is what I love. Detroit is what I need. Detroit is where I'm from. Detroit's the air I breathe. Detroit is what I love.
Woo! So,
I miss it.
Yeah.
It's like a time machine, right?
Yeah. Right.
That did happen.
Yeah, I know.
There.
For many, many years. So it's a bizarre time to say the least. We are all ready for 2021. We thought this year would be a lot different than it was. But the creative minds that power this festival and have been for many years are still at work, and it's great to see your faces. And Sam, I know you just kind of came off a production, kind of reuniting with Jazz Fest in Detroit too. Maybe a quick word on kind of how that felt being back in the saddle.
It was intense. It took a few days to get my sea legs back, pushing gear around and walking around a site, but it was an all virtual festival that happened from sound stages that we built inside the hotel, and created a COVID bubble for the artists and stuff. So it was nice to be at work, It was nice to have feedback with other contractors and stuff in regards to ideas of if we have to move forward, knock on wood, hopefully we don't, but if we have to move forward into creating like hybrid plans for live virtual kind of scenarios for potentially reduced capacities and things of that nature. But it was great to be back in the saddle, I'll tell you that, and hear some live music.
No doubt. Well, thank you for that. That was great to tune in from afar as well. Well, let's go around everyone and kind of give introductions. Sam, since you were talking last week, just give us kind of a real quick rundown on your role at Paxow.
So I'm the director of operations. So I look over production, anything that happens on site for the festival. So production, operations, city communications, permitting, dealing with several different health and safety departments, police, fire, homeland security, border patrol, because of our proximity to the Canadian border. So pretty much anything in regards to actually activating on the site and what it takes to do it safely and in a creative manner and within budget.
Of course. Rula, let us know where you are today and give a little background on yourself too.
Yeah, I'm actually live from Lexington, Kentucky. So I'm not in Detroit. I'm taking a little trip, but yeah, so my role, I've been curating the Movement Artist in Residency stage for 4 years with the team at Paxow. I am vice president of special projects at One Time Run, which is our Detroit-based company. We particularly specialize in limited edition art that we sell online. However, there's a component of what we do that acts as a micro agency to help corporations, festivals, nonprofits, civic organizations to think about public art and how it engages with an audience in an outdoor environment. So I came in with the team. We've been friends for a long time. I used to work for Red Bull, so we had collaborated on that side. And when I came to work for One Time Run, I was like, let's talk about some art. And so here we are.
Awesome. Thank you. Melinda, you're up.
Hey, I'm Melinda Mimi Anderson. My role is to really design the look and feel of the VIP area, and then whatever else Sam wants me to do. He's like, hey, can you show this area some love, and can you do this? And so that's what I kind of do, whatever. So I started off as a volunteer.
Awesome.
In the VIP area. And, it was cool because like Paxahau, the team, they saw me. They were like, hey, we see you working. Why don't you come on over and we're going to hire you? And so that's kind of what happened. And I think that was like 12 years ago. I honestly don't know. But, my role has kind of expanded, and it's been really exciting. I love working with these guys. I love the festival. It's one of the best times of the year for me. It really is.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Hall.
I work with Sam to help develop stages and lead the visual team at Movement, taking all the artists' content and making sure that their experiences for the audience come off as they would like them to. I do some side work, also doing projection mapping, animation, all that sorts of stuff. And I've worked with Movement since I believe 2009 was my first year where I actually ran a stage. And over the last decade, Sam and I have come together on a lot of really awesome designs to make Movement what it is.
Amazing. You guys are the gel for sure. I've had a unique perspective of this festival and your team and your work being either a DJ on one side, but also a stage sponsor when I was a creative director at Beatport. So I knew what it was like to come together with what we thought our brand was about, but to share that with Movement and the festival on a whole. And also running Minus before my time at Beatport as a label and doing A&R and just having a presence on the ground, selling records at Movement as well, and merch and battling the elements certain years. So all good memories.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things that this, I think, Melinda, you talking about the look and feel, it's a part of the production that, is obviously not in the headline of talent, what's in the roster. I think the artists that are involved do get credit. They do have obviously a presence, but this is very behind the scenes. So with the design community tuned into this, I want to make sure we're covering, not only is this a kind of an outlet in Detroit, but also a path that is not just about Memorial Day weekend, and that it's a career. I think when the music industry and the entertainment business has become so international and global, and Detroit is a huge component of exporting music and art and culture around the world. It's still so special to be in the city for a gathering like Movement. So I'd love to talk about the look and feel and kind of how much of that carries over year to year when it comes to the graphics, comes to the video aspects, the merchandise, obviously. It's a lot of this, like every year we're going to remap and reinvent what we do. Like how do you guys come together with the structure from kind of a top level design vision of putting a year's program together?
Well, I don't know who you want to start. Melinda, would you like to start?
Sure. Sam, like I said, I do whatever he says. It started for me because I was working for a rental company, and I said, "Hey, Sam, I can do some fabric for you." And so, I'm trained as an architect, and after 9/11, I switched careers. I was doing aviation architecture, and so my dreams were that, hey, I really wanted to become an event designer. I couldn't move from Detroit, And so Movement and Bravo Bravo gave me my first start. And so just kind of starting to test out concepts. And then every year I would build upon that. And that's how it expanded, because, you know, it was like a merging of set design for me and production and stress, because, you know, it's live, you got to think fast and you got to bring it all together. And then the architectural element, that's kind of what brought it together, that, you know, architects were trained to design that experience when you first step into an environment. And so that's what I brought to the team. And every year I kept trying to top myself. And then we started working on, well, the theme of this look and feel, and here's why. And we start our meetings and talks like in October, but like Sam and I and Jerry, we're like trading images all year. And I'll be like, Sam, yo, this is really dope. We need to do this. And Sam will be like, yeah, man. So it happens. It's true. That's a good impression, right, Sam?
Yeah.
And so it happens all year round. And that's how it comes together. And each year, you know, what I experience and I look in the industry and what's going on, I try to like bring that to Movement within the budget and keep it fresh.
Yeah.
That's
It's for those that have been to the festival one or multiple times, I think the main thing that becomes the most apparent is the venue itself. And for us, with the tenure that we have there, 15 years now, the venue really dictates almost everything, right? The challenges, the aesthetic of the venue, how you can operate within the venue, because it wasn't designed in an era of multi-use facilities, right? And it's obviously in a state of semi-disrepair. So there's challenges there in regards to maintaining the integrity of the venue as you move things in and move things out, and just the geospatial challenges of the place itself. Access for machines, or getting trucks in, or getting a high-low in, or whatever. So all of these things dictate how you get in and the things that you do, and then how you get out. Because although we are the first show of the season, we have a limited amount of time of build time that we're allowed to have. And then there's shows like the week after us, right? So we have to get everything in, do the show, and then get everything out, right? So those are kind of the primary factors of what we do in regards to designing the show. And then that's why it's so incredibly significant to have team members like the ones on this panel that are familiar with those challenges, right? So it's just a default set of knowledge in regards to why we can or cannot do certain things within the parameters we have to operate in. Okay. So, and then you kind of start from there. You know, we tend to invest in infrastructure that we can at least use for at least a couple of years, you know, whether it's furniture or decor or whatever. And then we kind of design backwards from there, as Gabe can attest to. You know?
Yeah, you know, I think about how much the stages have really evolved over the last decade. Like the first LED wall we put up there was like a $700 LED wall, little tiny square from somewhere in like Toronto. I think these guys brought it down, and now it's like, you know, you really see the evolution of just like the entire festival scene, right? And I think what makes Detroit and Movement unique is that, you know, the music always comes first for us. And we have a special connection here to the type of music that's being played, that we don't ever need to overshadow it, right? It's the focus. And then, but we want a certain gloss to come with everything that really ties all the different stages together and really gives the people a unique experience every year. So, you know, going back 10 years and coming where we are now, I mean, it really is fun to be both a part of it and then to watch it evolve as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, for like the artists in residency and art in general at Movement, when we initially had our first meetings of like, how can we work together? They were doing a an art program. I think it was called Camp Detroit, where artists submitted and they placed different art items throughout the site.
Yeah.
Because of Hart Plaza and how unique the space is. Like most festivals are really investing big money in art. Like if you talk about Coachella or even Electric Forest or any of these like large, big production, art is a huge component of why people go to it. But we have a very limited space, and the space is like every inch of it is used and utilized. And so to take up real estate where people can sit or hang out or spend time in is not really a luxury that we can have for this particularly unique space. And so Sam and team was like, well, we've got this area, and like it's always been the area where all of the chalk drawers go down and they chalk it all up. And they were like, we can't do anything with this area, and what do you think? And you know, if you look at it, you're like, wow, this is like a huge screen mural kind of scenario. But because of the uniqueness of this being not a historic, but a preserved park, paint directly on any surface that we like. So we had to come up with a solution of like, how do we apply a mural to a surface that is not, that we can't paint directly on. Right. And so with some brainstorming, we found a canvas linen material that we apply to it, and we paint a brand new mural every year. And we really focus on one artist to create something major where people can come in and experience it, opposed to having like small little elements throughout the festival that you can be a part of. And I know the first year that we did it, people were coming down there and they were like, this is exactly kind of like the missing touch that we feel like that was needed in our experience here. And every year we listen to like the attendees, and we ask them what they like and what they want to see. And we kind of build on that every year, and it's been really awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. That evolution is clear. And there's an element of surprise too, whereas people who are coming in as attendees year after year, it keeps it fresh for them too, right? So basically, you know, when it gets to a point where you're like, your excitement is about, it's very much for me and a lot, I think thousands of other people, a reunion to this kind of magical ground and in architecture. So great way to hear how you adapt to that while also having a preservation hat on in honor of the backdrop. Let's, if we can, we're going to show a few photos too, just of, you know, different stages and how movement has definitely evolved over the years. You know, each one of these, I know Sam's going to have a production story behind, but we'll just go through a couple of pictures and
that's fine.
Set the stage.
Yeah.
You know, this is great. Like, you know, obviously you're.
Oh man, I miss it.
Me too.
You know, it's really incredible when you think about, you know, when you go to the park when it's empty. You know, being born and raised here, having gone to several different ethnic festivals there in the late 70s, early 80s, and you know, kind of seeing how the park has evolved, and you never really knew. Obviously, I didn't really know what I was going to do when I was older, you know, and be there and spend so much time there. And, you know, having spent the 15 years, there is an incredible staff at the facility from Parks and Rec and from the mayor's office that really recognizes the impact that this festival in particular has on the city. And they love seeing the kids there enjoying the facility because of the fact that the venue itself is so synonymous with the event, you know. That has really allowed us to establish an incredible rapport with our counterparts in the city. And because they know that we care about the venue and that we care about the way that it's presented and the way that it's left after we leave. So, you know, over the years though, as the event has grown, trying to find ways to shoehorn the technology and, you know, when we first started doing this event in 2006, I mean, not only electronic music festivals, but festivals as a whole in the country, where it was a very young market, you know, and there were very few contractors regionally that could handle kind of what we were looking for. And obviously we were kind of taking our baby steps, but then everything advanced very rapidly in regards to the shows that were being presented and the technology that was being brought to bear. And ultimately what was being put on the attendees' shoulders as a ticket price, you know? And that is a delicate line that we have always tried to take at the paramount. Yeah, are you getting biker boys over there? So it's constantly this balance of you know, trying to bring the best possible experience with the best technology that is being presented to everybody all over the country and the world, but trying to keep that ticket price in that sweet spot, you know, so that it continues, that because all of these things, all of these tiny little items lend to the whole in regards to the experience. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we're constantly cognizant of that, which is why, again, we have these team members. And then within these departments, there's multiple other team members, and then multiple other team members that see that drive and that aim within our organization, and all help to work together to present that, you know, that end sum of an experience to the attendee. Okay. Right. And I think that people that have been here multiple years can attest to it in regards to the vibe that they feel at this festival. I know that we get it from a lot of the artists and stuff like that. And obviously we see it on the social channels, but that is always the end goal, you know?
Yeah, well said. I mean, that aspect of, again, this evolution of the tools that you have to work with, sound is sound, and the visuals change quite a bit. You know, you're dealing with an architecture that is fixed. Yes. But maybe this is a bit more, you know, for Gabe, talking about kind of how you've seen your needs for the tools you need to have change on premises as well. None of this stuff is off the shelf that all of you, this brain trust is putting together. These are things that take time to develop, huge collaboration. But I'd love to hear about, you know, how.
You know, I think about just that when we started this, I mean, it was standard definition, right? There was like these little cubes, like there was no high def yet. And as we moved into high definition, the tools really had to catch up for live performance. And all sorts of gear has to start getting brought in. Bigger, better, brighter, always has to sort of thing. And then, you know, being an outdoor festival, you have to be aware of weather conditions. It'll rain one day and be super hot the next. And that has definitely an effect on all the equipment that we're trying to bring in. So while there's always like this awesome, like creative reward at the end of everything, there is this huge sort of like gap that we're always chasing to like make sure we're using the best technology to give the people the best type of experience. Yeah. And, you know, one other thing, you know, I do feel like going back a little bit that, you know, the word reunion feels really good to say, because I have tons of friends in the city. I started going to Demph, you know, just as a raver, basically, when I was going to art school downtown. And, you know, for all the days we spend leading up to the opening day, and all this time we put in the months before, you know, it's all super rewarding when your friends run up to you. They got these big smiles on their faces. They're all ready to be there. They have no idea what it took and what was going on last minute before we got that video. It's like one bad HDMI could ruin the whole thing. We have so many points of failure. And but we managed through it. And, you know, I think a big thing that I love about this team is that we all stay pretty level-headed. You know, this is it was definitely hard in the beginning getting the kinks out, but I feel like everybody, when we all had the same goal, in the end, it was very easy to like put aside emotion and be like, listen, we can talk about the problem, or we can solve the problem. And that's where Sam's leadership, I think, comes in extremely valuable because he's always got this great sort of mood and tone to him that definitely helps me help control my team, because I have a bunch of people underneath me just to get that going. And I think it starts right there at the top. The entire Packs of How team definitely gives you the resources you need to make the solutions happen.
Awesome. One of the coolest programs, I think, is Artists in Residence, where there is definitely a feel of the city. And it's not, people who are going to the festival don't have to leave the festival grounds really to experience visual arts coming in to the program. So, I mean, really, I'd love to, just in your words, explain the program a little bit more and talk to us a little bit about the history.
Sure. So, you know, when we first all met to say, what can we do? And obviously I shared where we landed and how we landed there. The next thing is like, let's look at some artists. And we wanted it to be a true artist in residency. So we wanted to bring artists in from out of Detroit. And we felt, we've had Detroit artists since then, but initially, like, I really feel like Detroit artists come to the festival as artists, and they want to be inspired by things that they traditionally don't see. So we have music from different places, and we have experiences from different places. Like, I felt like that the art was something that we should also experience from different places. But we sprinkle a little Detroit in there. And one of the more awesome things that we do is that we curate a Detroit line of merch for the festival. So the Detroit artists always contribute to something that people can take home that says Detroit from a Detroit artist. But when they come to the festival, they get to experience something that they might not be able to find in Detroit. And what's really funny is the first artist. So, you know, I had a whole, you know, I think 15 to 20 different artists to pick through. And the first one, they're like, you know, we don't want it to be goofy or silly or playful. Like, we want serious. We want techno. You know what I mean? and so, you know, and you'll see how it changes. But like, so the first year they landed on 2501, and he's from Milan, Italy, who's one of the most lovely people in the world. So we were super stoked to have him. But it was just like so interesting. They're like, this feels like who we are, and it represents us. This is a photo of his installation that he did. And one other thing too is like, we always select artists that are fans of house and techno. Like, I don't want to bring an artist that comes just to like do a job and leave. Like, they need, because they're completely finished on Saturday when the doors open. There's nothing left for them to do. Unless they're doing a live, which 2501 did. But we want them to experience what it is. And I don't want it to be like in a bubble, they do their thing and they dip. Like, the whole point of it is they go back and they talk to their home and their environment about the festival in Detroit. And so that's always been a really big part. So always pick up people that are techno fans first, and then how do they relate to like the team at Packs of How. But if you see, this is our first year. 2501 actually had a sound machine that people could actually, when they would paint something, it would create a musical experience for them in headphones. And all of these streamers that are on the side was all art created by the attendees at the festival.
Nice.
Really cool. Really cool.
And then year two, 2501 is a really interesting story. And I actually collaborated with Gabe on this one. He was only here for a short period of time, so we didn't really have the time to build an installation around him. And so we wanted to create an experience after he was done with the mural. And so projection mapping came into play with that. And it was awesome. People, I mean, that stage, the other side of the pyramid was full like every single night to watch this. It was really impressive and really epic. And so 2501, I was like, 2501, do you like to paint at festivals? He's like, you know, they have me painting at this festival in California. He's like, but I hate that music. I'm not staying. I leave. And I was like, well, what kind of music do you like? He's like, I'm a raver. I love techno. I was like, well, I've got the festival for you. And so he was like on board. He had such a blast. It was so well received, and it was awesome. And then the following year, I'm not quite sure. Or are you going to show the projection mapping?
Yeah, of course, my QuickTime locked up here. Oh, here we go.
Oh, there it goes.
Nope. Is it going?
Uh-oh.
No.
Play.
We're talking about all the technology.
Technology. Of course, it's on me.
If we're gonna chance at the end, maybe we'll have
He's
a chance.
always the video guy.
Right. Oh, damn, that's a little shade, Sam.
And then the year after that, they're like, we want a Detroit artist and we want Wheezy. And I was like, really? Because I was just like, everything leading up to that had been very stark and sharp and hard and techno. And I was like, that sounds awesome. And so Wheezy, basically what she created is an offering plate to techno. That's what you see, these pillows in front of it. And so this was basically like a shrine to techno that she created. And people could actually lay and engage with those pillows. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I mean, those pillows are probably never been used again. But people had such a blast with them. And then that's the year that we saw this component of like interactivity with the art and the attendees. And we're like, this is something that we really need to be a part of it every single year.
Yes.
And so Wheezy was the one that we started that. And I mean, it doesn't stop. It's like photo shoots all day long. So we saw that, this became like the backdrop of people's experience when they left. It was like their Facebook profile picture. And it's how they kind of said that they were there. In the evening, it's hard to photograph, and it's hard to find moments on the festival grounds that people can create a moment out of until like the lights are up and everything is like, where it's supposed to be. And that doesn't happen till like 8 or 9 o'clock because it gets dark so late. So you have to create an environment for people throughout the entire day and places where they can have those moments to share.
Amazing.
And then the last year, I don't know. Yes. So we brought out Kevin Lyons from New York City, and Kevin is like an OG designer. His monsters are really something. And so Kevin had put together this like 20-page deck of like how he wanted to create these characters that exemplified underground resistance or like Jay Daniels and like, so all of these like crews from Detroit. So he wanted to make his own crew. And he created a personality for every single one of these characters, who they were, what they did, like the depth of the storytelling that he created to get to that point was so incredible. And we made these cutouts with Kevin. And man, like people just like were all over it. I mean, so many photos, so many group photos. It was so fun. And obviously we lit it in the evening and it just glowed, and it was really something special. And we feel so lucky. All of us at One Time Run, the crew there. Oh, there we are. Some of us. The crew at One Time Run were all like huge techno fans. Movement and Detroit Electronic Music Festival before that have been big parts of everyone's life there. And for us to have a chance to collaborate with the music and with the team there is just a dream for us. And so we do a collaboration with them every year on their festival, and every year for our festival, which is Murals in the Market, they manage like kind of music and logistics and events for us. So it's been a really wonderful partnership.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's so great. It's almost like a museum for just a matter of days, right? I mean, the time and the effort.
It's kind of so painful when you pull the mural off and you just kind of throw it away.
Yeah.
It hurts a little bit for everybody because you know how much time and energy goes into it. But the idea that you tell the artist that you get like 30,000 people a day to engage with your piece of art, they don't get that on any piece that sits out there for years. So, or some pieces. So like that level of intensity is like very attractive to them and to us. And it's been really fun.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I switched my HDMI, so I got it back, but, no, but I think this is an excellent example of like some of how we work together in there. Like Rula approached me about this and connected me with the artist, and it was like such a perfect piece to do projection mapping on. And it was, it was just the artist created the sketch of it. He gave it to me. I started to do some pre-animations on it. And then when we got in the space, we just kind of locked together what he wanted and our projection signal. And then we were able to strategically light his mural with animation to get what the video you see before you.
And then
really
as
great.
you see, I don't know if you've seen Gabe, but he since has done more projection mapping.
Tons. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
Super awesome.
It was a place for him to experiment, and it's been really cool to watch.
This is great.
As people do with music, right? They come to the festival to experiment new material and new techniques and new processes. And I think that really kind of speaks through the art as well.
Amazing. Yeah, that community part, I think the reality is like this is a pivotal event for people once a year. They work towards that. It's, you know, it's very much a tourism to come to Detroit and experience that. And again, to have this mystery and surprise of what you don't know you're going to experience, and these lasting memories that are just priceless. So thank you for sharing that story, the history, and the backdrop. I love the collaboration aspect, and
It's
I think
been a lot of fun. We feel really grateful to be a part of it. It's been awesome.
awesome.
And I have to give like the unspoken hero of the movement stages, Jerry. Jerry from the Paxahau team is essential to make it happen. So Jerry's not here, but she is so much a part of like the design and the look and feel. And Jerry, if you're listening, we all love you. And she really brings these ideas to life.
Amazing. Melinda, I just, the volunteering aspect of your background, how you came to be part of the team and then been part of this for so many years, which is fantastic. I'd love to know kind of like, is the volunteer aspect still, how does the next generation coming through what you're doing or what the festival is doing on a whole today?
Sure. So one thing I want to know, and shout out to the people in the comments who are talking a little smack, some of my friends. Hey, guys. But the thing that a lot of people, probably your viewers, don't know is that I always had a full-time job while I was working on the festival. Mm-hmm. So, I'm a workaholic a little bit. And I would use my vacations. Like I would take off 2 weeks and I would just work. Like that was my vacation. And it brought me so much joy because, for me to produce events, I have to keep my skills fresh. And movement, the team always challenged me. And, when Rula talks about, hey, Jerry, Jerry's amazing. She comes up with these ideas and you're like, yeah. So it kept expanding every year because at first I used to rent the decor and kind of, do some things. And then I started building stuff custom and then getting into building the installations and making it a little bit more environmental. But I had a small team. There were only 2 volunteers, like when I took over movement. I didn't have a team at all. So it was me and 2 volunteers. That would, Derek and Neil. And they would come and they would help me set up. They would party during the festival and they would break it down. And so then it expanded because I was like, dang, I can't really do the visions that I want without having an army. And so I'm good at managing volunteers because I'll think like, okay, this is the big installation that I want to do. How can I break it up into moments where volunteers can assist? So I'll say, hey, I have this vision of this installation. I need 300 balloons blown up, please. And there's this little army and everybody's like, okay. And then one of the volunteers, like you'll see them emerge as a leader and I'll keep my eye on that person. And then probably chances are I hire that person next year because I'm like, hey, you were really good. Shout out to Al Brown, who's in the comments, and Claire. Like I met Al Brown and he was a volunteer, but he was just so good. And I was just like, dude, he's like, yeah, I do a little festival production. And then I would see his IG and I'm like, oh, okay, you around the world doing these, you're more than good. So the volunteers are the feeder for me to select the talent because I can't do it all. And I had a full-time job. So that army is what helped to change the look and feel, because when people would be on site, like you walk through the VIP and I have some people painting and some people are spray painting. And, Sam just kind of smiles. I'll be like, hey, I won't get any spray paint on this historical stuff, but I do need to spray paint and paint. And then, that's how I built my production team. And then when more volunteers come, because somehow they just like coming to volunteer in the VIP because they know I'll keep them working. Like when you come and work on the VIP, you are going to work, because last year, I think I had 7 areas to design. I designed the boombox that will show in the entrance. And then Sam is like, hey, can you show the dressing room some love? And can you show this dressing room some love? And what about, then Rula's like, hey, I need some love too. And then I can't be everywhere. So
Melinda, where you at? Yeah.
So volunteers are so important for me and what I do, but trust and loyalty is important. So like, I look for that, like the loyalty, and I'm loyal to them, so that, it just kind of happens.
Yeah, I think that is the collective kind of takeaway, Clark, is people that work on festivals are crazy. And, there is no set, finite amount of hours. There is no finite amount of tasks. Everything is nebulous and organic from the planning stages to the execution stage. And when we as a promoter / producer identify or see somebody who is in that same vein as we are in regards to passion and dedication to making sure that the best possible product is delivered at the end, you realize that is an incredibly special asset, okay, in that person, especially if they have the ability to manage a team at the same level that you ask them to perform. You know what I'm saying? Without being enforceful. So when you see, every one of the people here, like, has grown their way through the event and then onward to their other things, because they have come with ideas, and because I have seen, or our team has seen, their ability to bring an idea to fruition and recognize that they are going to see that to the end, no matter what. Like, it's when you see that, you just grab onto it and say, okay, man, let's go, let's do it. Here's a little more, here's a little more, here's a little more. And then the next thing you know, you have an entire team beyond even these people that folds out into 20, 30, 50, 100 people that are so completely dedicated to the end result. It's really the best 2 weeks ever, every year. It's like,
I want to add to that. I can attest to that statement 100%, because when I started working with the Pax-a-How team and the movement team, I was employed by Red Bull, and we had a stage, and so we would collaborate and coordinate that stage. Well, I left my job at Red Bull to go work full time for a one-time run, and a lot of different people that I'd worked with really kind of never came back around. When I called them and I was like, let's talk about how art plays into this and talk about collaborating, they're like 100%, absolutely, let's have the conversation. And so when you leave a particular position, especially like let's say you work with Beatport or you work with some of these other organizations that are part of the festival, you're like, will I ever have like another role there again? Or will I have a more permanent role there? And they always take a chance. They see a vision sometimes bigger than you see it. And you really kind of grow and build something together. So it's been very special.
Thanks.
Very nice. Melinda, we should show the boombox if we can. That would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I would love for you to show that and tell the story. I'll just tell a brief story on it, because that was special, because I was always in the VIP area, and the year prior we had an installation for that area, and at the last minute Jerry was like, can you do a little something? So I created this. It was an 8x8 installation for this moment, and we saw how people came and they responded. And I created it out of nothing. Like, I had my army, and I said, "Hey, you guys, I got 2 days to create this. Make these weird flowers out of silver paper, please." And then I save everything, much to Pax-a-How's chagrin, although I've thrown out stuff in the room where I save everything. And so I saved the branding from the other year, and I was like, okay, I got branding. And then Jerry said, it just kind of needs some greenery. So I called up one of the volunteers. I said, hey, you're going to go on a run to the floral supplier. It's like the greenery. Don't let me down. And she's like, okay, sure. So then the next year, we had our conversations in October, and I said, Sam, Jerry, I want to make this boombox. I want to make a big statement. And because people really responded to the 8x8, backdrop, I want to just go big, 10 by 20. And then I said, and I like this material, these sequins. And I kept bringing these sequins to the meetings. I was like, look at this.
Very tactile design sessions.
I know. And, Sam, he was like, yeah, I like it. I dig it. He was like, yeah, man, go for it. And then, they give me the confidence because they're not like most clients who are just like, I want it like this. And it's got to be like this. Like I give them concepts. I don't get too much into what it's going to look like and give them renderings because I need that freedom to create on site. And then, it just kind of comes together. And so this, one of the best moments seeing it was seeing how people interacted with it. And I was like, dang, I did that. And Anzi Norman, I said, hey, dude, I need you to build this boombox. And he built the shell. And then I called in my friend Ryan, like 18 people worked on this. Albron and Claire, those numbers in that dial. I said, Claire, Albron, I need you to do this. Albron, you need to manage this because I'm over in VIP doing some other things. And then maybe I'm downstairs doing the VIP dressing rooms. So please help me. And it just came together like magic. And it was just so special because usually I would hire designers and artists to create installation. And this is one that I, came from just a conversation. And I just said, I kind of want to do this. And they're like, sure. So to me, that represents like what I want to expand my studio in, because then I won a challenge award from the Knight Foundation last year to do another installation that will pop up in the city and teach people about art and design. So I really am excited about like this direction. But Rula, we were talking earlier about collaborating, and she has this amazing artist that's going to do a moment here. So it's so interesting to come out of VIP and then to see the spots in general that make an impact on people in the festival. And that's what they get excited about because we have a budget. You have to strategically plan where you do these moments. And so to me, that moment was key. And then you have this amazing architecture and the sculpture that's historic and dope. And Sam was giving a tour last year. And it was just, I step back and I see it and I'm just like, damn, this is so yeah.
That was actually an interesting moment, Clark. But there was the security called me, and there was they're like, there's this group of people at the front entrance trying to get in, and I went up there, and there was it was this group of very well dressed older people, and it was the president or the executive director of the Isamu Noguchi Museum in New York. And some of his board members, and then the executive director of the Storm King Art Center, or the Storm King Art Park in New York. And they were there, they were doing a tour around the city, and, happenstance, they had come to the park because obviously Isamu Noguchi designed Hart Plaza, and it's the only park that he designed in the entire world. And, it was so incredible to give them a tour because a lot of them had never even been to the park. To kind of relay our as an organization, our contextual knowledge of working in the park, just some of the anecdotes that we had learned about the history of the park. The design of the park and certain facets of the park that have faded kind of into obscurity because they're just not utilized anymore, and it was a pretty intense moment, walking around with them and taking a picture with them, and it was pretty cool, but it was a reminder of kind of our love of that facility and how significant it is because of who designed it. Like a lot of kids, they just don't know, what I mean? They don't know unless they choose to do the digging themselves, and it's so, like I said, it's synonymous with the event. So
that's awesome story. And it is a treasure without a doubt. to have it here, to hear them not feel offended that there was art on top of art happening.
Oh, no, they loved it.
You
They
know?
loved it. Yeah.
And Melinda, the way you talk about it, just to say, it's very, you have a DJ spirit when it comes to like the way you're talking about collaboration and planning, and I'm just, it's no surprise these are all coming together.
I want some DJ classes too, Sam.
Nice.
Ryan is there, so I want some real classes.
If we have some images to show up on the VIP zone too, I'd like to kind of show that too, because that is always evolving and always changing, right? And getting better and better every year. This is great.
And it's, it's one of those things where
Serious. Very serious.
So has the VIP area like doubled in the last 10 years, or
Well,
is it, what's the footprint change like?
What we're constantly realizing is that there's because of the way that the park is designed, you tend to, within your mind, when you start on something, kind of, in the early years, stay to the hardscape areas, right? Because it's these delineated lines or areas that kind of present themselves, right? And then as you gain experience and gain knowledge of materials and technology and temporary flooring and whatever that can be utilized, then your viewpoint starts to bleed out of those hardscape areas into other areas, and how to utilize them, to kind of blur those lines between where the park is designed to make you walk or exist, and then into these other areas that, are technically green space or technically under trees where you're not supposed to walk and stuff, right? So I really feel truly that the last kind of 6 years has been this exploration of these other areas in the park that hadn't been kind of traditionally used in the earlier years when we were producing the event, which has by default led to Melinda having more space to operate in, or the artist in residence space that again sat kind of static throughout the, because it's very difficult to move equipment into that pyramid amphitheater, so it kind of just sat there until we came up with the artist in residence. And then in regards to the stages, it was very difficult to identify a contractor, because what a lot of people don't realize is there's dynamic weight loading limitations of how much weight you can roll into the plaza at any given time. And, for all of these stages that are built, there's, on the larger stages like Red Bull and the main stage, there's the weight of the stage, which is probably around 80,000 pounds of just the stage. And then the video screens and the lighting and all of the cable for the power and the signal and the whatever for all of the lights and whatever. By the time it's done, that stage ends up weighing like almost 250,000 pounds. Okay.
Wow.
So, but to build the really robust stages that can hold even more weight, you need a crane to come in to lift the pieces into place and whatever. So we've been through a few staging providers over the time, and we found one, Light Action, out of Delaware that we really like, but all their stuff is made out of aluminum. Okay. And it's internally ballasted. So that means it's lighter, which means the trucks are lighter, and we don't need cranes to get it in. So this is what I'm saying in regards to the challenges that the venue itself presents. And while at the same time trying to provide the baseline systems for, because as Gabe can attest to, everybody wants a big high-res video screen, and everybody wants it, at the upstage and whatever, or, you know what I'm saying? And so, but we've always had limitations of how much weight we can hang on the structures, so trying to find these things, as you were saying, and it's a very challenging environment, and there are items that like people they have no idea. You know what I mean? They think they just walk in and it's there, but which is why I'm always glad to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, and I want to just give a big shout out to Sam. I know that we are the face that people don't see, and what Sam's talking about, like, this is serious. Like, you can anything can happen. A storm can come in. Like there's dangerous stuff that anything could happen with weather, because you're dealing with so much, and you have to know like a high low, the pivot points and all this stuff and how much weight. And, Sam's like, we're hearing on the radio, like, hey, I'm looking at the Doppler and there's a storm coming in. So that gets ready. And so, but the brilliant thing, and like, I feel so blessed to be able to be on this team. I learned so much from Sam. He just always stays calm. And I'll be like, Sam, how do you do it? How do you do it? But he just, I don't know. He just stays so calm because a lot of the things go through Sam, and then he kind of deploys everybody, and it's like, it's a lot of pressure. And so Sam, he just does a great job, because it's more serious behind the scenes than people know. And then after the festival, we're all exhausted, and you have to make sure you don't get hurt. Because sometimes I'm like in the hospital for something else or whatever. I'm dehydrated. So people don't see that.
I think he's seen it all in 15 plus years.
And to pick up on that a little bit too, Sam has also given us all a lot of opportunity, packs the How team together, and I think back to early in the decade, 2010, 2011, Sam pushed us into, or really helped us get a projection map stage together that was like, when I think about it now, after everything I've done since then, this is something that really, like, not only was like a super kind of risk for them to take on me, but it was also an opportunity that they trusted me to really deliver for the audience.
Yes.
And so and I like to show this one too, because I feel like it was one of the best that and it'll loop back around here. I think it really shows sort of like how we took some risks early on to like push the envelope a little bit more, and then how it sprang me into like this company that I now own, and I do these things all around the country, and it's really given me an opportunity, as long as I'm sure with many other people that have worked under this, to really forge their careers out of it. And like I had a real job I had basically, I was working at a advertising firm cutting commercials, and I was doing, VJing at the Works, at Oslo, wherever I could sort of get in. And as we slowly started to get into movement and do a lot more, we got to produce something like this. And I love looking, it makes me miss it even more, really. Like,
man.
and I like specifically like shot that this year so well. Like it was such we learned so much from the year before because the base was so heavy down there. It was moving all our shapes around, and we had to keep running back and forth to like fix everything. And then we sort of locked everything together to make it that much more functional. And this year, there's Baby Gabe right there.
Yeah.
And Faux Hawk days. Wow. Yeah. And yeah, so it's just, that's another thing that I really think should be taken note here, is that it's sprung so many careers that have really blossomed.
There's a difference. I would like to say something to that, Gabe. We are approached obviously by professional organizations and agencies and contractors from all over the country, and there is a succinct difference in working with people that are just passionate, you know what I mean? Instead of just like throwing you a deck and whatever. And these are the relationships that come from again, we've been talking about it ad nauseum, but like people that started at a certain level within the event, and then have that thirst for it, you know. So when Gabe came to us and was like, dude, I want to do this. Like, I know how to do this. You know, it's going to cost a little money, and it's funny how much I, you know, back then I was like, ooh, and like now it's like, you know, add a couple more zeros on top of that to have the technology now. But I mean, it's all in, you know, in relation, you know, to how the technology has evolved and stuff. But, you know, it's having the faith, like seeing it in Melinda's eyes and Gabe's eyes and Willow's eyes, like, dude, we're going to fucking do this. You know what I mean? And it's going to be sweet. And I promise you, it's going to be sweet, you know, and knowing it because these people have shared the moments on site, the hard moments, the great moments, the tough decisions and stuff. And so like knowing in that context of all that time spent together that they are going to bring their absolute A game to the table. And, you know, 2009, 2010, barely anybody was doing projection mapping,
Right.
You know, especially in a large format, like uncontrolled environment, like a hot, sweaty, dark, dank cement cavern stage, you know, like the underground stage, you know. So but it came off great, and we reused those materials, you know, for a few years. And then I remember we kind of had a dumpster party when we threw them all in the dumpster because we were so sick of carrying them back and forth.
They were heavy. They were heavy.
They were heavy.
I love it.
Obtuse and you know, whatever. But you know, it's just it's so great to have those, and I really look forward to our design meetings that I have with Gabe every year when he comes to the table with, you know, because another facet of him, you know, kind of working and having his own company now is some of the artists that have played the festival, like, you know, Barclay, Club on Stroke, and, you know, some of the other ones now utilize him to do their visuals for their tours and things of that nature. And, you know, so now it's even escalated into a different level, and he's able to bring the things that he learns out on the road and on tour to how we can apply them on site at the festival too, you know? So it's really an outstanding relationship.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like movement, that's what kind of sets it apart from a lot of the other festivals, is that there's a little bit of risk in there, and it's in this unique environment. And it's actually taught me, the whole experience of movement over these last years has taught me to like be a better boss, how to run my company better, just by seeing how the architecture of the load in and everything worked out, that it's like, it's always a valuable experience every year. And that's why it's so easy to like go the extra mile and do the little things really well and really focus on that, because I feel like that's what brings us all together and elevates movement to that special zone.
I do want to share one like small story. And so like the first time I came to the festival was in 2009. I'm not from Detroit. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. Oh. And so I was working for Red Bull in Cincinnati, and I came in 2009, and I was just like, I had never visited Detroit as an adult, I don't think. And I was like, this is where I want to end up. Like I went to the festival and I was like, this is where I want to be. I want to be surrounded by this music. I want to be surrounded by these people. I want to be surrounded in this culture. In 2011, a job opportunity with Red Bull in Detroit opened up, and I was the first one in line. I was like, I'm going there. I was like, I love it there. And so I moved in 2011. In Movement 2011, I met my husband, and we had a movement love story. Party for Omar S. And like it's our unofficial anniversary every year. And so it's such a huge part of where my life is right now. And I can't thank enough to everybody, like the musicians and everyone that's brought this culture to Detroit and moved people like me here, right? Like I never would have thought of it unless I stepped foot into that festival. And so I love you guys all for that.
Love you too, Willa.
Awesome. Willa in the city, seriously, you rock. Like not just the stuff you do with movement, but outside and 1X Run and you know, this with the murals in the market, we're so happy you fell in love. And
that's amazing. it does feel like we're kind of living in an after movie, and not being able to do what we do, at least on Memorial Day weekend. But it sounds like the creative juices are still flowing, and even with this pandemic, everyone's still active and creating.
I think it's important. You know what I mean? It's I think creative people are always going to create or feel the drive, even when things get a little overbearing. Or I mean, I think that we've all experienced, students of creativity or whatever, that adversity kind of drives creativity. And I think that it's very apparent on this call, and this call is just a microcosm of the city as a whole, which Clark, I think having been born and raised here, that there is an incredibly profound creative community here in the city of Detroit. And, I think that the time off really is allowing some people to reset and rethink some things, and I'm not trying to paint it like rosy and optimistic or whatever, but from what I've seen, people are taking this opportunity to try to find ways to utilize it in a productive manner, and which is what we're doing, obviously, by having this channel and stuff, and trying to constantly find ways to engage with people. And whenever that includes the opportunity to bring one of our other creative kind of partners on board, we do it, because it's significant to us to behave in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Well, I mean, I think for 2021, we all have our fingers crossed, without a doubt. And, the show continues to go on. If you are watching it, do follow the Twitch channel as well for future broadcasts that are happening on the regular here. Just while you're here. I think we got a question. We haven't had too many questions pop in about on the comment side, but there might be one.
Yeah.
There you are.
So, yeah, it's definitely more challenging to build large structures like the boombox, because it's serious. Like, that boombox weighs a lot. And if it tipped over, like, I'm talking to Sam, like, yo, we got to make this safe. I got to put concrete barrels and strap them down, because, like, it'd be embarrassing if it tipped over on somebody, and then the festival would get sued. So, liability, you have to think about when you're building these things, not just about building something that's beautiful, but that can withstand for the 3 days, because, the weather, you don't know what's going to happen. So definitely with the boombox, it's more challenging, because the other thing is that, when the team has left for maybe, I don't know, when they may cut it like 8:00, like, I'll stay in VIP to like maybe 2:00 in the morning and tweaking like stuff that they may have done.
Later than that, Melinda, admit to it.
Well, I'm taking a nap, just left in my car, and then I'm back like, yeah, I can do 2 more hours. So sometimes, but to me, that's the beauty of it. It's like, in architecture school, we talk about the genius loci, the spirit of the place. When I get to walk around Hart Plaza, like, that's where I learn how to ice skate. And I'll be like, man, I'm here doing what I love in a city I love, and with people I love. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just, this is not phony how we feel about each other. This is real. So it's definitely more challenging to build large structures, because you got to make sure that stuff doesn't blow over and fly away and hit somebody. And yeah.
Responsible design.
Yes, indeed.
Chuck,
Right.
nice comment.
Nice one. Yeah. So,
I said, "What up, Chuck?" Chuck gave me a what up, bro. Chuck is one person that through this pandemic I miss a lot, because I don't see him out. Chuck, we need to see each other soon.
yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of missing time, but things are keeping us together. That's for sure.
Yes,
Great,
it
thanks
is.
for the comments. Anything else?
Shout out to Kelly Finn there. She has been my assistant for the last 2 years and been running main stage with me. So she just popped in there.
Awesome. Very cool.
Well, this has been great. Wow, look at all these nice things. This is great.
Really cool.
I think it's a good opportunity. Clark, I'm really glad that you could join us because I mean, for a lot of people that don't know, I mean, we go back to the 90s and stuff. And I mean, Clark was around when we were basically doing underground parties. Dangle and the Packard with zip ties and black plastic and stuff. So there couldn't be a more perfect person to kind of moderate this, to kind of see the evolution of things throughout the years, not only here in Detroit, but your experiences around the world running Minus and working for Beatport and stuff. So it's I think it's a true testament to the tie that binds in regards to Detroit and the family that we have here. And thanks a lot for moderating, man.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, firsthand to see the impact of what you do, because it is the takeaway that really kind of is the end goal. There's so many tracks played, so many things to see and people to meet, but it's this total vision of the design aspect, I think, of the festival that really is the takeaway. And it's really a very magical thing for a lot of people, and I can't wait for us to get back together and do that again. I know we will. So.
Me neither, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks. Well, thanks everyone for participating and listening and tuning in. Thanks all of you. Have a great night, and we'll be back soon. We're going to be doing more broadcasts like this on a regular basis. So again, please pay attention to what's happening on Twitch with Paxahau. And yeah, thanks again, everyone. Stay safe. Do those things that we're all supposed to be doing while we're not face to face.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.
We'll be back.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.